And we quickly shift our focus and return with more news we continue to track from China. Viewers, remember how the protests have been spreading across the country. Beijing, Shanghai, Wuhan, at least a dozen other cities across China that have been seeing hundreds of people taking to the streets to protest against President Xi Jinping's harsh zero-COVID policy that has allowed authorities to place millions of citizens under prolonged lockdowns, even if just a handful of cases are reported. Protesters have been demanding an end to lockdowns and Chinese President Xi Jinping to step down. That's one demand that is coming in from across China. The novel coronavirus, remember, was first identified from an outbreak in Wuhan itself in 2019 December. But given the strict norms that continue to exist, that continue to be put in place by the administration, that has resulted in the protests that you see on your screens. Demonstrators gathered in several parts, including the capital Beijing, the financial hub Shanghai. Many held up blank pieces of paper, as you can see, some of them expressing their discontent and acknowledging the censorship. They've been saying that President Xi Jinping, given the current situation across the country, must now step down, that millions have been affected by nearly 3 years of mass testing, quarantines and snap lockdowns. But this is, remember, viewers, a very, very unusual sight, unusual for people to publicly vent their anger at the Communist Party leaders in China, where any direct government criticism can result in harsh penalties. So those are the visuals that we continue to track from Beijing, from Shanghai, from several parts of China, where several hundreds can be seen taking to streets every day, day in and out. Similar visuals that are coming in, several gathered across to now raise their voices against the strict COVID norms that continue to be put in place by the administration. Let me go across to Srinjoy joining us with more details. Very, very unprecedented what we're witnessing, Srinjoy, given how people are very vocal in their demands, are very vocal in demanding the resignation of the president.
Undoubtedly, this rarely, if ever, happens in China, which is a very strictly controlled society. The last time anything like this happened was as far away as over 30 years ago in Tiananmen. And that too, it happened in only one place, in one town, Beijing. Here you have them in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Wuhan, and every other town. So if there are protests in 6 or 7 places, well, surely social media has something to do with it. The question now is that the protests are going to spread, also because of social media. What is the Chinese government going to do about it? That's really the important point to note, because here, if this continues to spread, then the Chinese, who are totally unused to having democratic protests in that country from 1949, will find it very difficult to deal with it. And the last time this kind of protests happened was just in Beijing alone. And the Chinese Communist Party, which runs the government, sent out tanks. And thousands of people may have been killed or injured in those battles in Tiananmen Square. Are we going to have another one like that? And this time it's not just Beijing, but many big cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Wuhan, lots of other places. So it's a very difficult situation. How does it all end is the main question. Well, these protests are going on. They want the President Xi Jinping to resign. Now, this is never something that any leader will do in China. This is not Sri Lanka. So how is it going to end?
Yes, never before, Srinjoy, we've seen such large-scale dissent in China. People openly shouting slogans, calling for resignation of the president, shouting that Communist Party step down. How has so far the president, how has the administration responded to this? Any official response they're putting out on social media? Because these are voices all across the social media as well. What is their response apart from the massive deployment of police personnel?
Yes, there are thousands and thousands of policemen on the streets in Beijing, in Shanghai, in different places. But there are only 2 things the Chinese can do, the Chinese government can do. One, of course, is accede to the demands and say that, yes, from now on, we will be easier with COVID, which is really the primary demand, or crackdowns. Either way, it's going to be a problem. If there is a crackdown, then it could get as bad as Tiananmen Square. And that has not been forgotten. It happened over 30 years ago, but it's still a memory. People still haven't forgotten it. And if they decide that, no, we will make it easier, it will be no longer zero tolerance as far as COVID is concerned, then already you have 30,000
So people,
cases.
in as many words, saying that they're sad, they're angry, they're hopeless, they want the president to resign. Let's see what the official response is going to be the coming few days. We continue to track that very closely. Shinjoy, thank you for joining us with those details.